Young and the Restless, Victoria and Kyle's hidden romance ignites total mayhem. The Young and the Restless sees that Victoria Newman, Amelia Hindley, and Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, have been vibing for a while now, and they keep getting closer. They almost kissed a few weeks ago, if you remember, but Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, interrupted them, unfortunately. And this week, everything sets on fire, and Victoria and Kyle share a passionate kiss-up at Jabot. But when the Newmans and Abbotts find out Victoria and Kyle are getting romantic, it's going to be explosive. Expect major fallout. Today we're going to talk about the backlash Victoria and Kyle may face. Young and the Restless, Kyle and Victoria romance brewing. So, I feel like it's been pretty evident for a while now that Victoria Newman and Kyle were headed for romance. Victoria and Kyle's paths have been crossing time and again for months. And even though there's some conflict between them because of their fathers, they actually get along fine. And in fact, it was Victoria and Kyle bickering over Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, attacks on Jack Abbott that got them talking to start with, and it prompted some fireworks between them. And as you know, arguing often leads to romance on soaps. And then when Kyle comforted Victoria at Crimson Lights, that's when things really sparked. If you remember, she was distraught over Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow's opioid relapse when he went missing from rehab. And Kyle was there for her, and comforting almost turned into a lot more if Jack hadn't barged back in and ruined that moment. I wanted to boo him back out of the room. And this week, Victoria's got a proposition for Kyle. So back in the Aristotle Duma arc, if you remember, Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, was talking to Kyle about staging a fake conflict between Jabot and Vibrante, the company that Audra was starting with Victor's dirty money. And now, Victoria wants to relaunch Vibrante. Maybe Victor took it from Audra. And Victoria wants Kyle to make the same deal with her to stage a conflict between Vibrante and Jabot. Victoria's strategy on Y&R. And Victoria said it'll take the focus off of the recent family drama surrounding Newman Enterprises. And Kyle's intrigued, even though he really has no reason to help the Newmans out with anything. And he told Victoria he had to run it by Jack, but he went ahead and shook on it with her. And we know that Kyle and Victoria get even closer this week. And she and Kyle have a steamy kiss-up at Jabot. It's passionate, and I do not think it's for show because they're completely alone when it happens. This sizzle is 100% real, but the connection between Victoria and Kyle is already turning heads. Specifically Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, as head. She happened to walk up right after Victoria had been pitching this idea to Kyle, and she saw them shaking on it. So, Claire was suspicious and asked Kyle if this is his sneaky way of using her mother to get revenge on the Newmans. I mean, honestly, now that Claire said it, maybe the idea will be something for Kyle to consider if he isn't already. But I also think he is into Victoria, and I could see them getting into a full-fledged romance together. And if they do, there's going to be big fallout from this Romeo and Juliet kind of thing. So, let's talk about the repercussions. Young and the Restless, Jack and Victor freak out. First off, I think their dads, Jack and Victor, will not be happy about this idea of Victoria's to fake a Vibrante and Jabot feud. I'm not even sure how much she actually wants this fake feud. It might have just been a way for her to get close to Kyle. Although a distraction from recent Newman drama is a good idea. It definitely looks like he is going to accept the deal officially when Victoria comes up to see him at Jabot. And then she gets up really close to Kyle and says she's going to love knocking the swagger out of him. That's when Kyle steps in and plants a passionate kiss on her. And Victoria kisses Victor him back. And Jack aren't going to like them getting into a fake rivalry between the two companies. And honestly, it could hurt both Newman and Jabot. Honestly, Jack and Victor might find this is one thing they actually do have in common. Neither of them is going to want this deal between Kyle and Victoria to move forward. And once they catch wind of the romantic part of it, I don't think Jack will mind too much other than saying be careful. But Victor, I think, will lose his whole mind if he finds out Victoria is hooking up with Kyle. Young and the Restless, Claire horrified. The next thing is Claire already asked Kyle if he's using her mom for revenge. Claire's suspicious because she knows Kyle hates Victor and wants him to pay for Patty Williams, Stacey Hayduke, almost killing his parents. And once Claire finds out Kyle and Victoria have gotten involved, Claire may think it's definitely about revenge. I mean, heck, Claire might even think Kyle is trying to get revenge on Claire by targeting her mom basically, because Claire didn't want to marry him and because Claire's with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn. Now, and Kyle really hated her friendship with Kane when they were together. So, Claire might think this is actually all about her and Kyle's past involvement and kind of messy split. So, I think Claire's going to have a lot of feelings about this. I think she's going to be worried about Victoria, but she may also be annoyed that her mom's hooking up with Kyle. I mean, he was Claire's first love, her first boyfriend, her first time she made love, her first everything. So it's kind of bad optics for Victoria as a mom. Also, Jack may worry this will restart the war with Victor, which is a very valid concern. The war never really ends, even though Jack always wants it to because, the mustache can't stop. Jack was minding his own business when Victor had Jack kidnapped and assaulted by Patty, and he tried to destroy Jack's marriage. And in the end, Victor, plotting with Patty, nearly got Jack and Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters, both killed. Meanwhile, Victor has shown zero remorse and zero accountability for his actions. He just keeps lying about it. Young and the restless. Victor versus Jack, war intensifies. So, a romance between Kyle and Victoria would absolutely restart this feud. And it would be the perfect excuse for Victor to go after Kyle and all the Abbotts all over again. And that leads us to the next bit of potential fallout. Victor will be furious. And if you remember, Victoria told Kyle recently that if Victor goes after the Abbotts again, she's worried that Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, might dump Victor once and for all. And Victoria handed that information to Kyle basically on a silver platter. So he might deliberately provoke Victor to see if he can start something that will break up him and Nikki, because Kyle said if Victor lost Nikki, then he'd feel like everything was square. So I could see Kyle doing it on the sly, so Victoria won't know that he is. That would be the perfect revenge on Victor for breaking up Jack and Diane. Both Jack and Kyle wanted Victor to lose Nikki because he tore Jack and Diane apart. So, this will be the perfect opportunity for Kyle to do just that. All he would really have to do is go tell Victor that he's got Victoria in his bed and just let Victor explode and lash out like he always does. All he has to do is let Victor be Victor on Young and the Restless. Young and the Restless. Kyle and Victoria live happily ever after? So, the last ripple effect I want to talk about actually would be positive fallout from this. In the end, maybe Victoria and Kyle really do fall in love and get a happily ever after, because there does seem to be some real fire between Victoria and Kyle over and above, just chemistry, like mutual respect, stuff like that. And I wouldn't mind seeing where it goes with them as a couple. I know a lot of fans are here for it. Some are against it, but a lot more, I think, are for it. So we'll see what happens. But even if Victoria and Kyle end up being the real deal, I'm sure it will be a bumpy road. Victor hated Victoria being with Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, and he'll probably hate Victoria being with Kyle just as much, if not more.